Hey guys, how's it going? Today is Thursday, November 14th. I am in my 2019 Model 3 with Hardware 3. My car is a little bit outdated. I will be the first to admit that, and it's been really affecting me mentally recently, especially because Hardware 4 keeps getting new updates again and again. Now, the point of my channel here is to document full self-driving and the progress it's making here as time goes on. And I feel like I'm now missing out on that progress, and I'm not able to fully capture the incremental improvements over time, because it's very obvious now, especially I would say within the past 3 to 4 weeks, that the Tesla AI team is focusing almost exclusively on AI 4. And that's a good thing. Let me just say that first and foremost. I don't have any, major disappointments or any major frustration. I have gone through the 5 phases of grief though, and I'm kind of toward the last 2 of them. So the 5 phases of grief, if you're not aware, is first of all denial, secondly anger, and then you go through kind of bargaining. Well, maybe it's okay if this or that, and then you go through flat on depression. And that's been me the past couple of weeks, is just kind of like, damn, like I need a new car. Now, affording a new car is a big thing, right? There's your home is number one most expensive usually in your life, and then second is your vehicle. And unfortunately, buying a car every other year or every 3 to 4 years, in my case 5 years, is just really not practical. Some people make it work by having a car payment. I try to avoid as many monthly payments as possible. I don't make a lot of money, and I have to say right away that I am probably one of the most frugal content creators there is, until I get a much bigger following. And I know my following is not, really small, but I'm definitely not a big content creator until I get to that level where I'm making a substantial amount of money to justify the cost of a monthly car payment. Today, it's just not worth it. Now, things are changing. I do have a 15-year-old daughter who will be needing a car next year, so things could change pretty quickly. And then we also have a minivan that could break down any day. And if that happens, well, we're going to need to replace it. So there are possibilities here. But the 5th phase of grief is going through acceptance. And I'm almost there. I'm almost there with Hardware 3. I'm still holding on. Now, people have wondered, is Hardware 3 going to get version 13? I am fully confident that it will. It's just going to be a waiting game. It's going to take a while. What's happening here, and this is, again, I don't work for Tesla, but what's happening is they are optimizing, and what that means, they're compressing the code to be able to fit into the Hardware 3 computer, because we're looking at a lot smaller size with the computer. And I think it's like 64 gigabytes versus now it's 256 gigabytes. That's a 4 times difference. So that's a pretty substantial difference in size. 64 gigabytes is not that big. And imagine you have to compress everything down to fit inside of that computer. So what that means is they have to say, okay, well, out of these 50 or 100 parameters that are being used with the neural nets, only a fraction of those are going to be used for Hardware 3. So that means the safety and the performance, that stuff starts being worse. It's worse. It's not as good. You just don't have as much space to be able to accommodate those parameter settings. So it's hard for me to really fully explain, but I get the gist of how neural nets work, and it's all about parameters in and parameters out. And well, parameters out is really just controlling the steering wheel and controlling the accelerator and the brake pedal. But the parameters in is the big deal. How many of those should you have? How important should they be? All of that has to be in place. And if you're not familiar with how neural nets work, there was a great video. I'll try to find it and throw it into here, where a neural net was showing visually how it could learn letters. So you would draw the letters and numbers, excuse me. You would draw the numbers in real time, and then it would be, based on its confidence as the number was being drawn, it would then assign a number to that to the drawing that was being displayed. Anyway, with all that said, I'm going to say right away that because I've been so depressed lately, I have not been filming as much as I used to. And there's, outside of being depressed with all that, the other main reason is that it gets dark here really early. There was a time change that just happened where the clocks went forward. So now what happens is, actually they fell back. I'm sorry, I always get that confused. So now it's like an hour earlier. So at 4:30, it's pitch black. I mean, it is really depressing. So not only is the weather and the lighting depressing, but the whole situation with Hardware 3, it's all just a big depression spiral for me. So I really want to keep everyone informed of Hardware 3. I am not abandoning Hardware 3. A lot of people have said, hey, you have money, spend it. And people have actually gotten kind of mad at me. Or like, don't be complaining. And I've been very careful about how I phrase things. I'm not going to complain, okay? It's not like we were promised level 5 on Hardware 3. And then it comes down to an interpretation of what is full self-driving. And that's a whole nother game. And to be completely upfront with you, it's not really how shall I say? It's like tit for tat in like who said this and who said that, and I just don't want to play those games. The companies, they come up with these crazy names for stuff all the time. If you think of like Red Bull, it gives you wings. Does it really? Really? It does a body good. Milk, it does a body good. Does it really? I mean, yes, I think it does, but I mean, that was back in the 80s, right? But there's so many different catchphrases and marketing logos and names that companies come up with that you can't really believe it 100% of the time. With all of that said, I am experimenting here with a little bit of a different setup. I'm kind of recording in live, and I'm going to be doing this more. What I mean is I have a laptop in my car today, and I'm going to be kind of editing as I drive, if that makes sense. I'm not going to be using my computer to edit while the car is driving, but the car is like bringing all that video feed together in one spot so that it reduces the amount of time I have to do sitting at home modifying all this stuff. And that's been another big hindrance or a kind of a roadblock for me pumping these videos out, because they are very time consuming. I am not abandoning the overhead camera. I'm just trying to get more content out in an effort to get more subscribers. I have committed to people that if I get 50,000 subscribers by the end of this year in 2024, I will commit to getting a new car in January 2025. Do I need a new car? No. Do I want to buy a new car? Kind of. Can I afford a new car? Probably not. So I actually, in this case, a rare situation, I actually hope that I don't get 50,000 subscribers by the end of December. But if you see this and if you do support me, please hit that subscribe button. I say it in all my videos. I have been struggling to break through that barrier. I think it's the algorithm that's really I'm being held back by. So I'm trying to get beyond that and try to really grow my content. All right, let's get started with this drive. It is a little bit misting outside, so it's kind of like a little bit wet, and we're going to see some of that on the windshield as we drive. And I'm just going to take it around just a small little route just here to test in the suburbs. This is not going to be that exciting of a drive, but hopefully the monologue, what I say, is going to resonate with some people, because I will be talking about, as we drive here, it's not going to be a ton of traffic. I'm going to be talking a little bit about kind of my journey here with the Hardware 3 situation. I'll be revealing probably more than I want, but I will be sharing kind of my thoughts on where we're at with the technology. All right, let's go ahead and get started. This is my new setup. The resolution is not going to be as high. It's not going to be like 4K quality, but it should be decent enough for recording here. I am using just a little bit of behind the scenes. I am using a software on my laptop, which I have here in my car, called OBS Studio. Got everything set up. I've got 2 destinations dialed in. This will be a quick drive. I'm going to put it into drive, and it should allow us here to turn it on. So you can see the steering wheel icon up there in the upper left of the screen, and all I need to do is turn it on and it will take me out of this parking lot. Let's see if I can get out of this slanted line parking space. It is not going, and this is, I did a video on, I drew like a line, a circle around my car using flour, and it was a little bit of a fun video intended to just kind of be a joke, kind of, sort of. And a lot of people took it seriously, like, oh my gosh, it can't get out of the circle. But most people that know how this software operates, they wouldn't be fooled at all that, you know, it can't get started automatically. You always have to step on the accelerator just a little bit. Sometimes it can get started, and if you wait long enough, it will eventually figure out how to go. Like if a car drives by, it kind of gets a frame of reference, and then it will be able to get out of that spot. As you can see right now, it's just not doing anything to get out of here. So it looks like I am going to have to just tap on it ever so slightly just to get going. And yeah, the wheel's not moving at all. If I kind of encourage it, that's not doing anything either. If I push too hard, it will cancel out of it. But what will allow it to move is me just stepping on this accelerator pedal just ever so slightly. Let me do one thing here. I'm just going to move this over just a little bit, just so you guys have a better view. There we go. Okay, here we go. I'm going to step on it just a little bit, see what happens. There we go. That was just enough. Turn signal went on. And right back off again. It's confused. It still doesn't know where it is. Let's see if it can sort itself out here. It seems to still be hesitating a little bit here. Let me do an experiment here with the lighting. Just see, this is a nice camera here, so it may not even need the lights here. Turn these off completely. Well, I think it looks better with the light down below. I think you guys would agree this lighting adds a lot. Let's step on it a little bit more here. Okay, right turn signal went on again. Still not going all the way. Whoops. Okay, now the wheel's moving a little bit. Let's see here. Come on, you got this. Okay, moving a little bit more. It's thinking about it. And now it's almost all the way over, turned to the left. It really wants to go. I can tell it's trying to figure it out. If I move just a little bit more. Still no. Okay, a little bit more. Okay. You do have to give it quite a bit here before it will take off. So now it knows where it's going. And like I said, I've got 2 destinations dialed in. We're going to a mart called Deli for You, and then we're heading up to kind of a random neighborhood area. I don't even know exactly. Now, this is not the way that I would be getting out, and this is one thing you gotta love about self-driving, is it just kind of takes you places a lot of times that you've never been through before. And, you know, normally I'd try to go right there, but I can't turn left if I were to turn right there. So it's going another route here. Generally speaking, I don't like filming at night because it just doesn't look as nice. Oh, didn't expect this. Okay. Coming up through here. Okay, and it's going over to the right side, which is good. And after we come out here, we're going to be going straight. So it needs to wait for a gap with this traffic before it can pull out, because If it were to go right now, it would be in the right only lane, and that would take us down another road. So it's doing the exact right thing. It needs to wait here for that light to turn green and all these cars to pass. We do have quite a few cars built up here on our left side, which I cannot show you right now because I don't have a wide angle camera, but this is the last of them. And look at this, beautiful, comes out right away. Really nicely done there. And changing lanes immediately, getting over into the middle. So we might have to wait here at this light a little bit. So just a little bit of commentary on Hardware 3. I have been a little bit disappointed because I'm missing out on these updates, and highway driving has now been merged with City Street, and there's now new profiles like the Hurry profile. And I understand that the speed has been corrected now where it goes at the speed that you want it to go when you have the auto max speed setting configured. So that's really exciting. Coming through here, it looks like really smooth. Now this is the question. Let's see what happens at this light. If it slows down, I might have to intervene here with the accelerator pedal. And people have speculated that it's seeing the hand on the signal for the pedestrians crossing, and it would slow down for that. I believe, and this is speculation, I believe that it's slowing down for the turn arrow, which is over there on the left. You can see that this coming up here. See, now it's slowing down here. It just started to, and now it's, there it just slowed down again. There's a red arrow which says you can't go left there until it turns green. And I think it's seeing that and slowing down. Hard to say exactly, but that is an issue that was introduced with 12.542. Some people mentioning that issue existed when 12.541. I never witnessed it there. All right, coming through here. So these videos, when I do them kind of in the moment and I'm kind of filming, just going around, especially suburban areas, it's not always the most interesting because it's not so special to have FSD anymore. So many people have it. Now, I think for my overseas viewers, I think there's some insight to be had. I mean, it's interesting to observe and see how these drives go, and it really comes down to who you like to listen to when someone's filming, because there's so many people that have different ways of speaking and different ways of communicating and explaining things. And if you can relate to somebody, let me turn these lights off, that might help a little bit. If you can relate to somebody in their speech pattern or maybe their history, some of their stories, I think then you are much more attracted to their videos. This is one thing I never shared with my audience. I think, and I don't think it, I know, the reason why I'm so attracted to self-driving technology is because my grandfather died in a really bad car accident. He drove right through a stop sign, and a car hit his car. It T-boned him really bad, but it wasn't like right in the middle. He unfortunately wasn't wearing his seatbelt, and his car spun. The other car hit his either in the front or on the back of the car, and it spun more than 360 degrees and flung him out of his car through his windshield, and then his body landed in a cornfield. Absolutely devastating. I can't imagine dying like that. But I mean, in some ways it's kind of like, man, I hope that's how I pass, because if you have a long drawn out death where maybe you go through dementia or Alzheimer's, or you're in a senior home and your quality of life is just so bad, that's almost worse in some ways. But man, that was a brutal accident. And I mean, he went like that. And I think about that, and it's like, man, his life could have been saved by having technology like this. and it just keeps getting better. And I'm a big fan of self-driving technology, and this is why I got it. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is if I get a new car, I don't want to lose early access. I'm sure that I can reach out to Tesla and have it transferred so I have early access on the next vehicle. However, I would love to be able to keep this car with FSD and have another car with FSD. Now, of course, that depends on my wallet, but another thing that's on my mind is, and I hate to say this, but it's the Osborne effect, is waiting until AI5 comes out, because I don't want to have to get AI4 and then 3-6 months later, let's say AI5 comes out, and then it's like, oh man, I got to get another car. Nobody has ever promised that level 5 will be capable with hardware 3 or hardware 4, and nobody said it's going to be possible with hardware 5. The fact is, nobody knows the future. Now, Chuck Cook commented on one of my posts on X saying that we didn't buy a car to be level 5. We bought into the promise that this technology will be developed to achieve level 5. And it's kind of like, he mentioned, it's kind of like a Kickstarter. And I never ever viewed it like that. I never thought of it as being like a crowdfunding Kickstarter campaign, because the technology was advertised as full self-driving. And I go back and forth on defining what that is, and it's up to everybody's interpretation. But full self-driving was never, obviously the dream, the goal is to be able to sit back and not do anything, and Robotaxi will enable that. And it's also been mentioned that hardware 3 vehicles will be able to join the Robotaxi. Here we've arrived. Let me just delete the waypoint, edit trip, go ahead and get rid of this. Done. But a lot of speculation. The thing is, when you're paving the way for creating the future, nobody knows the timing and nobody knows what is actually required. And Tesla has pivoted, by taking this labeling approach and kind of hard coding heuristics approach to now using all neural nets and artificial intelligence. And back then, they didn't know they'd pivot to that. I think they've pivoted at least 2 or 3 times with this technology. So it's a massive undertaking to be able to solve this. And then the other question is, not just on the computer inside the car, but also and there's a huge discussion about this, about the cameras and the positioning and the orientation of those cameras. Are they enough to achieve full self-driving? In other words, level 5. And full self-driving, what is full self-driving? Well, Tesla defines it as level 2 today. It is not level 5. So, you have to take that naming with a grain of salt. But my goodness, a lot to think about with the setup and what's required. And a lot of people also saying LiDAR. You have to go down that path. And I'm not going to have a huge debate about LiDAR here, because I'm just not knowledgeable enough about LiDAR. And then there's radar. That's the other portion as well. And Tesla's changed with that. So a lot of things up in the air. And I really hope and believe that Tesla will figure it out. And that's all we have right now is hope that this will get solved. And that's what people have paid for. And now let's say they can't solve it. And of course, again, it comes down to a matter of timing and how long it takes. But let's say they can't solve it and they abandon it, like Apple abandoned it completely. So in that case, what happens? Well, all these people paid good money. Some people up to $15,000 for full self-driving. Well, what happens to those people? I really believe that Tesla will make things right. And some of the people that bought with the MCU2 a long time ago, before Hardware 3 even came out, they were promised self-driving. And I say promised in quotations, although it probably was. I mean, I wasn't really as plugged in as they were back then, but they are very upset and very disappointed. And eventually people move on, right? They say, okay, well, screw it. You know, after 10 years or so, you almost always need a new car. I mean, depending on where you live, you could always just milk your car to death and put in a ton of money to keep it alive. And I think electric cars have changed that now, where the reliability is just so much better than it ever was before. So they do last a lot longer. But there's that cost to maintain a car too. Now, buying a new car is a fool's errand, in my opinion, because it's extremely expensive, first of all. And then second of all, your car depreciates in value so much and so quickly. And that's another thing that a lot of people are very disappointed about. You know, it was also mentioned many times that these Tesla cars would be an appreciating asset. And Elon doubled down on that. He mentioned that on multiple occasions. And then he tried to make that happen by increasing the price of self-driving. So that created a sense of urgency where everybody was thinking, my goodness, I better jump on this because, yeah, it is going to be worth a lot of money. And then they drop it down from $15,000 to $8,000. And now you can get the subscription for $100 a month. That's a great deal. I think it used to be $200 a month. So, all of this stuff, makes people, it leaves a sour taste in their mouth. And you really can't blame those people. And cars are expensive. The only way I was able to get a car, a Tesla, is because I saved money over the years by driving used cars. And I always advocate for used cars versus buying new, because it's a much wiser thing to do. And you can get a used car for a decent price because they depreciate so quickly. And I still advocate for that. But hey, if you're going to get a new car, check the link in my description because I have a discount code, and I have to mention that straight away. It doesn't get used enough. Some people, they got their 10 referrals in like a week. I think I'm sitting at like 2. So your support goes a long way. And I think I get a little bit of money out of it. You guys get $500. It used to be $1,000. Here we're turning left. This is our final destination. And it's just going to pull over to the side of the road. And this is, where we're going to finish things off. So I'm going to park it as soon as it stops here. Perfect. I'm going to park it here. And we'll just wrap this up. All right. So, I mean, my goodness, it's expensive getting new cars. And, is it really worth it? That's the real question, because the same situation could repeat itself with Hardware 4. And that's why I kind of hesitate. It's not that I want to contribute to the Osborne effect. Nobody does. I mean, everyone wants, well, not everyone, but most people who have a Tesla and enjoy riding in their Teslas or driving their Teslas, they want Tesla to succeed, as I do as well. And the best thing for them to succeed is for people to support them by buying more stuff, right? And I'm also a Tesla stock shareholder, so I could sell some shares to afford a new Tesla. Now, I used to follow, I'm not going to mention their name, but I used to follow this guy all the time, and he would complain about money and his financial situation. And then he goes to get a Model Y, and then he goes to get like a Model X, and he goes to get a Cybertruck, and it's just like, I thought you were hurting for money there, buddy. But I am the real deal. I definitely am hurting for money. I don't know what he does for a living, but my goodness, I just don't have money just flowing out of my ears like that. So I don't, you know, and maybe people can relate to me on that, but I struggle with money. I'm going to be completely honest with you. So for me to realistically get a new car every other year, it just doesn't make sense. And I think other people can relate to me on that. So believe me that it's not easy. And I'm not going to, although I've had a lot of heartburn over this, heartbreak over this recently with not having the latest and greatest hardware, I'm willing to wait until hardware 5 comes out. So until that happens, I will be continuing to document hardware 3, and you know, just we have to be patient. I'm here with you guys, and I will be producing a lot more of these kind of on a whim videos that I'm doing right now. So let me just adjust this. Yeah, there we go. I will be creating more of these kind of on a whim videos, and then in the future as well, doing more of the, you know, really high quality, where I have the camera on my roof and, you know, going into the city of Chicago to film. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate your support as always. It goes a real long way. Until the next one, have a good one.